Praise the Lord, everyone. I pray that you are doing awesome on this day. Today I'm coming to you to talk about realistic expectations for marriage. So many of us get married and we don't do premarital counseling. We don't go in depth into our backgrounds to find out things like, deeper things than just our likes and dislikes, what our favorite colors are, what our pet peeves are. We don't go in a little deeper, and we should, in the name of Jesus. And also, you know, when women get married, we have an expectation of how our husband should be. And when men get married, they have expectations on how we should be as a wife. And so we don't talk about those things and don't discuss those things about what we expect of one another when we get married. I can say for myself that, Jordan and I didn't have premarital counseling, but we had solid men and women of God around us, that encouraged us, what I'm saying? And God gave several confirmations, even up to the right before the minute I said I do, that He was the one for me and I for him. And so that gave great comfort. But there were still some things that we did not really go in depth about that we should have before we got married. And say, for example, one example I'm going to share is about me cooking. So, of course, when we started dating, talking, he asked me, could I cook? And I said, yes, I could cook. Now, I'm not a chef, but I can cook. And so we left it at that. He was like, good. And so he tasted he came over my house before we got married for Christmas dinner. So he tasted my cooking and he knew, okay, she can cook. But where, um, where things kind of got, we began to butt heads in our marriage after we got married about my cooking was when I normally cooked big meals on a Sunday because I was a single mother. It was just me and my two babies, and I cooked big meals on Sunday, like I said. But during the week, I just did quick fixes. Like we would do chicken nuggets, French fries, some broccoli, and then for dessert they would have Jello, on their juice, Capri Sun or something like that, or just something real quick that I could cook during the week. You know what I'm saying? And so how Gerald grew up, he grew up where big meals were prepared every day like it was a Sunday. So his expectation was that I was going to do the same thing. And when that did not happen, he felt like, man, like say for instance, like I remember the first night, I'm still working, we married, I'm still working, and it was a weeknight, and what I did was I didn't feel like cooking. So what I did, I went and got some fresh hoagie rolls, different types of lunch meat, turkey, ham, and roast beef, and two different types of cheeses and lettuce and tomatoes. And so it wasn't like I slapped him together a bologna sandwich with the red ring around it with some Kraft or some Burger Whip, and and that's just all I gave him. No, I did the sandwich upright with some chips, you know what I'm saying, and his Pepsi. But that bothered him because he was expecting me to do these meals like fried pork chops with mashed potatoes and, seasoned green beans and, during the week. But that was a lot for me during the week. And I did try to do that, but a lot of times it just didn't work out that way. I would be tired. At that time, I was working at NASA. I'm standing on my feet all day. at the machine or masking something for outer space, and you're tired. You come home, and once you help the kids with their homework, get them bathed, talk to them, and spend time with them, and first when I come to the door, first thing I did was cook, but that kind of we begin to clash on that because I felt like I would come home and cook, and even though I didn't cook big meals every day, at least respect the fact that I did come home and cook, and I just didn't throw hot dogs and beans on a plate, or I just So we begin to that brought a little clash in our relationship for a little bit because his expectations was for me to cook like his aunt and his cousins cook down south, the way he grew up, and my and that wasn't what I was doing. Eventually he came around to understanding that I just did not cook like that, but I also had to make some adjustments as well. Like at that time I wasn't doing ground beef, I was doing ground turkey, for meatloaf and for spaghetti, and I wasn't doing pork at that time. I was eating lamb, me and the kids. And so he grew up in the South, and so I had to bring back pork into the house. And not that I was, I'm not against pork. I like bacon, but I had to, bring pork in because he liked pork. So I had to, compromise, cook pork, and I had to bring back beef, what I'm saying, because he didn't want no turkey loaf. He wanted meatloaf. So with ground beef. So those are some adjustments that I had to make, and then he adjusted to, okay, I can deal with this just as long as that you don't throw me. I got one thing he will not do is oodles and noodles. So we were cool. We work that out. Praise God. Another thing that we don't consider before we get married and we don't really talk about is how we were raised. That plays a big part in what we expect from one another in marriage. I grew up in a home where my dad went to work every day, but he also took care of things around the house, like with the car. He always made sure the car was in working order. Gas was always in the car, that the fluids in the car, the washer fluid, the transmission fluid, the oil, the tire pressure was okay, for me and my mom to drive. And we lived in the projects, so my mother kept immaculately clean house. But our next door neighbors, sometimes that could be who, depending on who lives there, is different. So if she saw one roach or one critter, she would let my dad know, hey, you need to get the exterminator man out here and come get this handle. And my dad would be on it. He would do it. And so, he did things, around the house. You know what I'm saying? If it, house needed painting, he painted it. If he, whatever the case may be, that's what I saw, from my dad. That's what I experienced from my dad. But how Gerald grew up, he grew up in a household that had that 50s mentality, whereas though all the husband had to do was to go to work and come home. And that was it. Come home, eat, look at TV, take a shower, go to bed. And that was it, And so he grew up with seeing that, experiencing that. That was his experience. The kids did everything else around the house, and the wife, cleaned up, took out the trash, mowed the lawn, helped in the garden, you know what I'm saying? So he came into the marriage with that mentality. That's all I gotta do is come, go to work, bring in the money, and that's it. And that's great. My husband is a hard worker. I appreciate that about him. And if he's sick, he still go to work. That's how hard he go. And I appreciate that. But also, what I'm saying, my expectations, I was expecting to see, like him do a little bit more, you know what I'm saying, around the house, and because those are my expectations, I was disappointed, you know what I'm saying, when I would ask him to do something, and whereas though like my dad, he would be on it like that, whereas my husband, it would take him like 2-3 weeks to get it done. And boy, I would be pissed. I would be pissed because I couldn't understand why it take you so long to do that, or even with the car, he would drive the car and he would bring it home on E. And so me and the kids go get in the car. I gotta pray that we make it to the gas station, put gasoline in the car. And I felt that was so um I felt that was so unthoughtful, and that uh, he really didn't care about our well-being, you know what I'm saying? Because, you just don't do that. But that's how I grew up, and that was my expectations. And that wasn't how he grew up, you know what I'm saying? He grew up in a different manner. So, those are the things that we had to talk about and work out. Now he's gotten a whole lot better at not leaving the gas tank empty. It's very rare that he does it now. You know what I'm saying? But it took some time, because that was how he was raised. You just go to work, you come home, you eat, you look at TV. And once you done, you take a shower, go to bed, go, start the work day all over again. And that wasn't like how I grew up. We worked, and my mom and dad worked as a team, you know what I'm saying, to get things done and to keep things in order. That doesn't mean that my family life was perfect, and it doesn't mean that his family life was perfect, but we really needed to discuss that before we got married so that we could work it out, you know what I'm saying, and understand where each other were coming from. So these are the things, I know these things might seem simple, but these are the things that we take for granted. And these are the things where women have certain expectations due from how they were raised, where they come from. And the same with men, you know what I'm saying? Men expect certain things, even with sexual intimacy. I grew up in a home where I didn't see my mom and dad uh, uh, show public displays of affection, kiss or hug. I didn't see them do that. And neither did Gerald, neither did Gerald. So we kind of grew up in that respect, in a house where as though there was no outward display of hugging and love. I was taught to show outward displays of love and affection and hugging when I got connected with my pastor at that time, and God showed me how to love. He showed me how to love my children, and he showed me how to, I was kind to people, don't get me wrong. I was a giver, I shared, but I'm talking about as far as like hugging and, kissing, letting people know, I cared, that type of thing I learned from my pastor, from watching her with her son and her family. And I learned that from them, because we didn't do that in my family. I can only remember my mom telling me that she loved me one time. I knew she loved me. She never treated me bad. She never treated me wrong, but she just wasn't a hugger. She wasn't a kisser. Now, maybe she did that when I was a baby, but I was too little to remember. So I had to learn that by God teaching me, and through my pastor at that time, who, God used to train me in the Lord and the things of God. And the same with my husband. He grew up in a house. He didn't see any affection between his aunt and uncle, them kissing or hugging each other. So when we got together, he didn't like public displays of affection. He didn't even want to hold hands. No, he would hold my hand, but he didn't want to like kiss in public. Now he don't care. He'll kiss, me in public, or, he'll hug me in public. He don't care now. But those are things that we had to learn and to talk about, had to get through, and it took some time, So I'm just sharing these things, because you do have expectations going in a marriage and in a relationship. And before you say I do, you really need to talk about those things and don't just think, oh God, oh well, get caught all up in the wedding and in the honeymoon, and because there's life after the wedding and the honeymoon. And one great resource that I found years ago, this was after I got married, and right around the time when I was writing Silly Woman That Ain't Your Husband, I found a woman by the name of Julie Ferwerda. Her last name is spelled Ferwerda, and she did this article called "Talk It Out Before You Say I Do." And in this article, she gave a list of, I think it's like 100 questions that dealt with your past, dealt with sex, money and finances, who you are, how you household things, how you feel about recreation, how you feel about kids, intimacy, work, your religion, your spirituality, and I printed it out, and I think that even if you don't go to marriage counseling, this would be a great resource. Her questions would be a great resource for you to fill out by yourself and then give a copy to the man you intend to marry so he can fill it out, and then like come back together and then go over the questions together. You know what I'm saying? You'll learn a lot about yourself, and that way he can ask questions, or you can ask questions. Like, for instance, one of the things, like for us, this would have been a great a great questionnaire for Gerald and I, but I just didn't know. Like, one of the questions she has is, how many / which jobs do I think my spouse should do around the house? Who should keep the yard maintained, spouse, both, or hired out? These are important questions. Who will do the shopping? Who will do the laundry? I mean, questions like with physical appearance. Um, um, do you want to be able to have a say in your spouse's choice of clothing, hairstyle, general appearance? Is cologne / perfume important to you? Money and finances. One of the questions is, my savings plan is, my retirement plan is. How do you feel about tithing? I was like, man, if I would have had this questionnaire, I'm going to post it on the at the end of the video, where you can go on the internet and print this questionnaire out. I suggest that. I even emailed Julie Ferwerda. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right. If I'm not, please forgive me, Julie. And asked her, could I, share her questionnaire? And she said, sure, as long as you, say my name, that it comes from me, I don't mind. So, every time I talk about her questionnaire, I always say her name. I think this is a great resource tool to do before marriage, between you and your intended. Even while you're single and you're waiting, go through it by yourself and just answer the questions. And I mean, it will probably amaze you about what you even found out about yourself, how you really feel about things. And so again, I'm going to post that. So again, I just wanted to just talk about, having realistic expectations in marriage. And so that you won't be so disappointed, when things don't pan out like you thought. It has a lot to do with how you were raised, your background, so many different things, and things that need to be discussed before marriage. So again, I hope that this have blessed your spirit. I look forward to doing another video. I pray that God gives me something. Or if you have questions that you want to ask me, and I'll be glad to do a video about it. So again, I pray this video blessed you. I love you with the love of the Lord. And until next time, God bless. Love you. Bye.